Chosen one, you have been working so hard that you forgot how to receive. That sentence is not an accusation, it is a diagnosis. Because somewhere along the way, in the long stretch of the waiting, in the silence that kept stretching past what felt bearable, you reached a conclusion that if you just tried harder, pushed further, planned better, the breakthrough would finally respond. And so you kept going. Long past the point of strategy, long past the point of wisdom, into the territory of pure, exhausted will. But here is what I came to tell you today. The shift you have been working toward is not waiting for more effort. It is waiting for less, because it has already been set in motion. While you were pushing, something greater was positioning. While you were forcing, something wiser was arranging. The infrastructure of your breakthrough, the people, the timing, the convergence of forces you cannot name, is already built. It was being built in the silence you could not understand and the delay you could not explain. You are not here by accident. The higher intelligence that has been writing your story long before you knew you were in one, placed you here, in this specific moment of your specific exhaustion, to tell you the one thing that changes everything. Stop. Not because it is over, because it is done. What is already yours has no use for your striving. It only needs your stillness. And today, I am going to show you exactly how that works. But first, I need to find you. Not the version of you that shows up composed and ready. The real version. The one that has been carrying this longer than anyone knows. I want you to think about the last few weeks, maybe the last few months. There is a particular kind of tiredness that has been living in you, and it is not the tiredness that sleep fixes. You wake up and it is still there, a heaviness behind your eyes, a weight in your chest that you cannot quite name. You have been going through the motions, doing what you are supposed to do, showing up where you are supposed to show up, and yet something inside you has gone very, very quiet. You have been in that quiet, and it has confused you, because you were taught that quiet means nothing is happening. That silence means you are falling behind. That stillness means you have given up. I am here today to tell you that you have never been more wrong about anything in your life. That quiet is not absence, it is preparation. That stillness is not retreat, it is alignment. And the heaviness you have been carrying is not a sign that something is broken. It is a sign that something is shifting at a level so deep, so foundational, that your entire nervous system is registering it before your circumstances have caught up. Let me show you what I mean. There are signs happening in and around your life right now. Signs that most people miss because they have been taught to look for the dramatic, the sudden, the unmistakable. But the signs of a real shift, the kind that rearranges everything, are quiet. They are personal. They are so close to you that you almost looked past them. The first sign is an exhaustion that goes deeper than your body. You have been tired, chosen one. Not just physically. In your bones, in your spirit. There is a tiredness that settles into you in the early hours of the morning, when the world is still dark and quiet, and you lie there not asleep and not quite awake, just heavy. You have tried to explain it away. Too much screen time, not enough exercise, stress from circumstances. But the rest does not fix it, and you have started to wonder if there is something wrong with you. There is nothing wrong with you. What you are experiencing is what happens when a person is being held still by something greater than themselves. Your body is not failing, it is being asked to pause, because the version of you that is being prepared for what comes next cannot be built while you are in constant motion. The formation requires stillness. The deepest root growth happens in the quiet of winter, when everything above the ground looks dead and everything below is more alive than it has ever been. That tiredness in your bones is not depletion, it is recalibration. Your body knows something your mind has not accepted yet, that this is the season to receive, not to perform. The second sign is emotions that arrive without warning. Something has been happening to your emotional landscape, and it does not follow the rules you were taught. You feel peaceful, and then overwhelmed within the same hour. You feel hope, real hope, the kind that rises without a reason, and then you feel a grief that does not belong to any specific loss. Tears come at unexpected moments, not always in sadness. Sometimes in the middle of something ordinary, you feel a wave move through you, and you cannot explain what it is or where it came from. This is not instability. This is not anxiety that needs to be managed. This is your spirit processing a transition that is larger than your current understanding. When something significant is shifting in the unseen dimensions of your life, the emotional body registers it first. The waves are not random. They are messages from a deeper knowing inside you that something is ending and something is beginning. And both of those things are real, and both of them deserve to be felt. You are not broken. You are in motion. The kind of motion that happens inside before it becomes visible outside. The third sign is that the things that used to hold your attention no longer do. The conversations that once felt important now feel draining. The environments you spent years comfortable in now feel like they belong to someone you used to be. The noise that you once navigated without thinking now physically exhausts you. You find yourself pulling back from things, from people, from situations, and then wondering if something is wrong with you. Wondering if you are becoming antisocial, difficult, ungrateful. You are not. Your tolerance is changing because your frequency is changing. When a person is being elevated to a new level of their calling and their purpose, the things that belong to the previous level begin to feel incompatible. It is not that those people are bad or those environments are wrong. It is that you are being prepared for something they cannot accompany you into. And your nervous system, before your mind has agreed to the transition, is already beginning the separation. The pulling back is not isolation. It is discernment. It is your spirit, ahead of your understanding, making space for what is coming. Before I go further, I want to say something to you directly. What I am going to share with you in the rest of this message, the full picture of what is happening in your life right now, why this shift is operating the way it is, and what it is actually asking of you, is going to change how you understand everything you have been going through. Stay with me through this, because by the time this is over, you will have a framework for this season that will carry you through it with a steadiness you have not felt in a long time. You will understand the mechanism, you will understand your assignment, and you will understand exactly why the most powerful thing you can do right now is the thing that feels most counterintuitive. The fourth sign is that your dreams have become louder, not necessarily more dramatic, but more present, more vivid. You wake from them and they stay with you. Not like ordinary dreams that dissolve before breakfast, but like something that was trying to tell you something. Some of you have been dreaming of places you have never been but recognize. Some of you have been dreaming of conversations that feel more real than your waking ones. Some of you have simply been dreaming more, sleeping and arriving somewhere, and waking with a residue of something you cannot name but cannot shake. Dreams have always been one of the primary languages of the divine. They do not always come in symbols that need decoding. Sometimes they simply come as a feeling, a visitation, a knowing that arrives while your conscious mind is finally quiet enough to receive it. The fact that your dream life is activating is not coincidence, it is correspondence. Something is trying to communicate with you through the one time of day when you are not in your own way. The fifth sign is the one that will stay with you the longest. Something has been changing in your relationship with time. You have been having moments, brief but unmistakable, where time feels different, where a minute stretches into something spacious and a week collapses into almost nothing, where you look back at the last season and cannot account for it, and yet you also sense, somewhere beneath the confusion, that something was being done in it. Something invisible but significant. You have been feeling simultaneously behind and somehow, inexplicably, exactly where you are supposed to be. That disorientation is not dysfunction. It is the experience of living at the intersection of your human timeline and the divine one. The clock that governs what is being prepared for you does not run on the same mechanism as the calendar you keep rewriting. And the part of you that is spiritually attuned is beginning to sense the difference between the two. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are in the middle of a convergence, and convergences, by their nature, do not announce themselves until they arrive. Here is what I want you to understand about all 5 of these signs. Not one of them requires action. Not one of them is asking you to do something. Every single one of them is the universe saying the same thing in a different language. Hold still. The work is being done. Your job right now is not to add to it. Your job is to not interrupt it. If you are feeling this, if even 2 or 3 of these signs have been living in your life, type 444 inches, the comments right now, because I want you to know you are not alone in this season, and I want something to be declared over you today that will change how you carry the rest of it. There is a higher intelligence that has been watching every moment of this. Every morning you woke up tired and showed up anyway. Every prayer that felt like it went nowhere. Every time you chose faithfulness in the small and invisible. None of it has been wasted. None of it has been unseen. And I hear it being said over your life right now. The very fatigue you have been carrying is my hand holding you still. Not as punishment, as protection, because what is being prepared for you cannot arrive while you are in motion. The stillness is not the obstacle. The stillness is the door. You have not been abandoned in this quiet. You have been incubated in it. But here is what I need to tell you now, because the recognition is only the surface of what I came here to say today. The deeper truth, the one that will actually change how you move through this season, is about what is happening underneath all of this. It is about why rest is not passive. It is about why your stillness is not defeat. It is about the mechanism, the actual working architecture of how what is meant for you finds its way to you, and why the only thing that can interrupt it is the one thing you keep doing. Stay with me, because what I am about to share with you is going to reframe everything. There is something I need to tell you about the season you have been in, and I need you to hear it without the filter of the story you have been telling yourself about it. You have been calling it a hard season, a waiting season, a season of delay, and I understand why. Because from the outside, from the vantage point of what is visible and measurable and present in your hands right now, it has looked like nothing. It has looked like stagnation. It has looked like a gap between where you are and where you were promised you would be. But I want to show you what it looks like from the inside. Think of the most significant people you know in your own life and in the long record of lives lived before yours. Think of the ones whose arrival into their fullness changed something, not just for them but for everyone around them. Think of how their stories were written. Almost without exception, there was a period, a specific, identifiable, unavoidable period of absolute invisibility. A season where nothing appeared to be happening, where the public narrative of their life had gone silent, where if you had asked them in the middle of it, they could not have told you what it was for. That is the season you are in, and I want you to understand that those seasons were not interruptions to the story. They were the most important chapters of it. The chapters where everything that made the arrival possible was being built, quietly, below the surface, in the exact place where human effort cannot reach. There was a man who sat under a tree and asked to die. He was not a failure. He was not faithless. He was one of the most extraordinary people who ever walked the earth. But he had given everything he had, and it had cost him more than he knew how to carry. And he sat down under that tree in the wilderness and said, "It is enough. I have had enough. I cannot go any further." And the response he received was not a sermon. It was not a rebuke. It was not a long explanation of why his feelings were wrong and his perspective needed adjusting. It was a meal and rest. And the words, "The journey is too great for you." Not, "Get up and try harder." Not, "You have too much left to do to stop now." The words were, What you are being asked to carry is bigger than any human effort can sustain. Lie down, eat, sleep, and then, when you are ready, we will continue." He rested twice, and then he walked 40 days on the strength of that rest, into the place he was always meant to reach. That is what your rest is. Not failure, not surrender to defeat. It is the meal and the sleep that precede the 40-day journey. And the one who covered him is the same one who is covering you now. There was a young man who was sold by the people who were supposed to love him most. He did not go from that betrayal into his destiny. He went into a pit, and then into a foreign house, and then into a prison. For 13 years, by any visible accounting, nothing was happening. He was going backwards. He was being forgotten. He was being passed over by the very circumstances that were supposed to be his breakthrough. And then, in a single moment, everything changed. Not because of what he did, because of who he had become in the silence of those 13 years. Because the specific character that was required for the specific assignment that was waiting for him could only have been formed in exactly that long. What felt like isolation was actually incubation. What felt like delay was actually development. What felt like silence was actually strategy. What felt like abandonment was actually the most precise appointment of his entire life. That is what is being said over your season right now. If you have been in the wilderness longer than you expected, type 444 inches the comments. Because I want this to land in your spirit, not just pass through your mind. Your wilderness is not empty. It has never been empty. Something has been at work in it that your circumstances are not yet equipped to show you. But I need to go deeper than this with you, because knowing that the wilderness had purpose is one thing. Understanding the actual mechanism by which what is coming to you is coming, that is something else. And that is where I want to take you now. Because here is the question that nobody asks clearly enough. If the breakthrough is already being prepared, if the infrastructure is already being built, if the timing is already being orchestrated, then what exactly is your role in all of this? What is the specific assignment of the chosen one in a season like this one? I thought for a long time that the answer to that question was faith. Keep believing, keep trusting, keep showing up with your hands open. But there is something even more specific than that. Something that sounds so simple it almost does not seem like it could be the answer. Something that runs so completely against everything you have been taught about how life works that most people hear it and immediately begin to argue with it. The assignment is rest. Not as an emotion, not as a feeling of peace you manufacture, as a practice, as a posture, as a deliberate, intentional, sustained act of releasing your grip on the outcome. And I want to show you why. There is a way that the human nervous system operates under chronic striving that most people never examine. When you are in a constant state of effort, of pushing, of trying to control the timing and the method and the outcome of what you are waiting for, something specific happens inside you. The frequency of anxious effort, the frequency of forced movement, creates a kind of interference, not metaphorically, functionally. In the actual mechanism of how you receive, how you recognize, how you connect with what is being orchestrated on your behalf. Think about it this way. When you are in a room full of noise, you cannot hear a whisper, not because the whisper is not being spoken, because the noise is too loud, the signal is there, the message is being sent, but the receiver is overwhelmed by the static it is generating itself. Your striving is the noise, and the shift that is moving toward you is the whisper. I want to tell you about a neuroscientist named Dr. Robert Lake. He spent 34 years, the entirety of his professional life, studying what happens inside the human brain in different states of consciousness. He mapped the frequencies, he documented the patterns, and in the course of that research, he encountered something that he initially did not know how to explain in purely scientific language, because it pointed towards something that felt far larger than what his instruments could measure. He found that there is a specific state of brain activity, a state he began calling the God-given frequency, that is present in children at extraordinary levels. A state in which learning is effortless, intuition is heightened, connections between disparate information are made instantaneously, and people report an inexplicable sense of being guided, supported, held by something beyond themselves. The ancient traditions had named it many things. The mystics recognized it. The poets tried to describe it. But Dr. Lake found the measurable signature of it in the brain itself. And then he documented what happens to it. He called it the decline effect. Beginning around the age of 7, as modern life, the education systems, the pace, the constant low-grade noise of a world designed for productivity rather than presence, begins to settle into a person, that frequency begins to diminish, not disappear overnight. But slowly, year by year, the access to it becomes less automatic, less sustained, less available in the moments you need it most. The people he studied, who seemed to move through life with an ease that others could not replicate, the ones who kept encountering what looked like luck or favor or impossibly well-timed coincidences, were not fundamentally different from the people around them. They had simply, through some combination of practice and circumstance, maintained or found their way back to that frequency. He spent years after that discovery asking one question: is it recoverable? And if so, how? What he found, and what we will come back to in a moment, because it is directly relevant to what you are carrying right now, is that the path back is not through more effort. It is through a very specific kind of intentional stillness. It is through the practice of rest that is not passive, but is deeply, consciously, deliberately receptive. There was even a broader system of restoration he spent years building, work that went far beyond any single finding, including something he simply called the youthful brain, a framework for understanding what full restoration of this capacity looks like across a lifetime. But that is a larger conversation. What matters for right now is this: the science. The most rigorous 34 years of neuroscientific research Dr. Lake could conduct arrived at the exact same conclusion that the wilderness was teaching you. The frequency that allows you to receive what is being prepared for you is not activated by trying harder. It is restored by going still. Your rest is not a pause in the process. It is the process. Every day you release the anxious effort, something opens. Every moment you choose trust over control, the static quiets. Every hour you stop trying to force the timing and simply hold the frequency of one who already knows it is coming. The signal between you and what is being orchestrated for you becomes cleaner, clearer, stronger. Doors are being positioned, people are being prepared. Conversations are being arranged that you will not see coming. Resources are being moved in directions that have no visible logic from where you are standing right now. And all of it, every single piece of it, is operating most effectively in the exact moments when you are not trying to manage it. This is not passivity. This is the most sophisticated, most intentional, most spiritually advanced thing a chosen one can do in a season like this one. And I hear it being spoken over you now. I am the one making this happen, not you. You were never the architect of this. The weight of it was never yours to carry. And the relief you feel hearing that, the part of you that exhales at those words, that is not weakness, that is recognition, that is the truth landing where it belongs. This is not delay, this is not failure, this is not you falling behind. The shift is already in motion. The shift has been in motion. And the most powerful thing you could do right now, in this moment, is to stop fighting what is already fighting for you. Before this message ends, I am going to speak something over your life that I want to stay with you long after you leave this space. An activation and a declaration that I believe you have been waiting for without knowing exactly what you were waiting for. Stay with me, because what I want to share with you in the next part of this is where it all comes together, where the science and the story and the season you are in converge into something you will be able to carry forward in a completely different way. There is something I want to come back to now, because it is the piece that ties everything together. Earlier I mentioned Dr. Robert Lake and the discovery he called the decline effect. The finding that the God-given frequency, the specific state of brain activity associated with intuition and flow, and the inexplicable sense of being guided, diminishes across a lifetime under the weight of modern living. I want to return to that now, because what he found on the other side of that discovery changes everything I have been sharing with you today. The question Dr. Lake spent the second half of his career answering was not simply, what is being lost? The question was, what does restoration actually look like, and what does it require? He started, as most scientists do, with the most rigorous interventions he could design. Biofeedback sessions, professional equipment, structured clinical environments, the kind of work that costs $300 an hour in a specialist's office. And it worked. Clinically and measurably, it worked. People who underwent sustained biofeedback therapy over months and years showed significant restoration of gamma activity. The frequency returned. The sense of guidance and flow returned. People described the experience as getting themselves back, as feeling again for the first time in years, like the version of themselves they remembered being as children. But Dr. Lake knew that $300 an hour, sustained over months, was not accessible to most of the people who needed it. He knew that the home equipment capable of producing similar results ran to $7,000 or more. He knew that the meditation practices capable of accessing this state required years of disciplined daily effort that most people, in the reality of their lives, could not sustain. So he spent years asking a different question. Not, what is the most powerful method, but what is the most essential mechanism? What is the one thing, stripped of everything peripheral, that the gamma state actually requires? And what he found was deceptively simple. The brain does not need elaborate equipment to return to this frequency. What it needs is a precise audio environment, a specific combination of sound frequencies delivered in a specific sequence that the brain will naturally synchronize with. Not because you force it, because that is what the brain does. When the right signal is presented, the brain does not resist it. It recognizes it. It moves toward it the way a tuning fork responds to a matching pitch, not by effort, but by resonance. He compressed 34 years of research into a 7-minute audio track. 7 minutes with headphones, in whatever position you happen to be in right now. No equipment beyond what you already own. No prior experience. No technique to learn or practice to sustain. You simply listen, and the gamma frequency, the one that was always yours, that modern life has been slowly quieting since childhood, begins to reactivate. He called it the genius song, not because genius is about intelligence in the way we were taught to measure it, but because, in the gamma state, what Dr. Lake documented again and again across thousands of subjects was this: the impossible problems began to resolve, not through harder thinking, but through a kind of knowing that arrived without effort. The right people showed up at the right time in ways that defied statistical explanation. Doors opened that had been closed for years. People described it as living inside a different story, one where things worked, where coincidences accumulated into something that felt indistinguishable from grace. In the gamma state, the things that seemed to require years of striving dissolved in moments. In the gamma state, the connections you have been trying to force found their way to you without your management. In the gamma state, the frequency of what you have been waiting for and the frequency of who you are become close enough that what was always meant for you can finally reach you. This is not metaphor. This is the measurable, documented finding of 34 years of neuroscientific research. And it is the exact same truth that the wilderness was teaching you, that the desert was preparing you for, that every sign of this season has been pointing toward. The shift that is already in motion in your life moves most freely when you are in the gamma state. and the Genius song is a 7-minute door back into it. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, because I thought the same thing when I first encountered this. I have tried audio frequencies before. I have tried binaural beats, frequency music, sound healing tracks, and I felt something, maybe for a while, and then it faded and nothing changed. I want to address that directly, because it matters. The difference between what you may have tried before and what Dr. Lake spent 34 years building is the difference between someone playing music near a tuning fork and someone striking the exact matching pitch. Most audio frequency content is created by people who understand the general principle, but not the specific mechanism. They know that the brain responds to sound. They do not know the precise sequence, the exact calibration, the specific way the entrainment has to be structured for the gamma frequency to reactivate sustainably rather than just temporarily. Dr. Lake knows, because he spent 34 years in the lab learning it. And then he had one more conversation with a woman named Sarah, a former client who had gone through the full clinical biofeedback program, who had her life genuinely transformed by the restoration of this frequency, and who had gone on to use something she called neuroactive as part of her continued practice, who said to him, "This cannot only be for the people who can afford your clinic. This has to reach the people who need it most. The ones who are lying awake at 3 in the morning, wondering why the faith and the effort and the waiting have not yet produced what was promised. The people who are exactly where you are right now." He spent the next 2 years distilling everything he had learned into the most essential, most accessible, most precisely calibrated version of what he had been building for decades. 7 minutes. The exact sequence that triggers the natural resonance response in the brain. No equipment beyond headphones, no prior experience, no technique to sustain. And then he priced it at $49. Not $300 an hour. Not $7,000 of equipment. $49 for a technology that took 34 years to build and represents an alternative to thousands of dollars of clinical intervention. But I want to tell you something that matters more than the price. There is a specific discount available to the people who find this message. Not through a storefront, not through any retail channel. The link in the description and in the pinned comment below this video is the only place where you can receive the Genius song for $39, along with 4 bonuses that Dr. Lake created to accompany it. The first bonus is called Genius Child, an audio track designed specifically for the younger developing brain. For those of you who are parents who recognize what I have been describing in the children you are raising and want to protect their access to this frequency before the decline effect takes hold. The second is the original book that the film called The Secret drew from, the source material that was always more specific and more practical than what the popular adaptation became, valued at $20, included free. The third is a guided visualization, a structured journey through 4 specific areas of your life: the financial, the relational, the physical, the interior, so that when the gamma state opens, you have a direction prepared for what arrives. And the fourth is a practical framework, the 5 most essential daily orientations of a person committed to sustaining this frequency, designed to be posted somewhere you will see it. All of it for $39, with a complete and unconditional money-back guarantee, not limited by the number of times you use it before you ask for a refund, not conditional on anything. If you use it and you do not feel different, the full amount returns to you. The only risk is not trying. I want to say one more thing about this, and I want to say it as a protection rather than a warning. Because what Dr. Lake built has value, and there are people who have built imitation products using his name and the name Genius Song to sell something that does not contain the actual brain entrainment technology. These are audio tracks with no scientific foundation, no 34 years of research behind them, no calibration for the specific resonance response. They use the name because the name has been associated with real results, but the technology is absent. The only way to receive the original Genius song with the full entrainment technology, with all 4 bonuses, and with the money-back guarantee is through the link in the description of this video and in the pinned comment. Not on Amazon, not through a search, not from any other source, only there. If you are in this season, if what I have been describing today is the season you are in, if the 5 signs are alive in your life, if the wilderness has been longer than you expected, if you can feel the shift beginning, and you want to be in the most receptive state possible when it arrives, then follow the link. Think of it as 7 minutes of intentional rest that puts you in the exact frequency where what is coming for you can find you. The link is there. What belongs to you always finds its way home. And speaking of what is still to come, there are chapters of this journey I have not been given permission to open yet. There is something that those who go further along this path begin to encounter, something that I have heard referred to in quiet rooms by people who have fully restored their frequency as destiny's embrace. I cannot tell you more than that right now, but I believe that for some of you listening, the name will return to you at exactly the right moment. For now, let us come back to where we began, because we have arrived at the part of this message I most want you to carry with you. I need to tell you something about the most dangerous thing you could do in a season like this one. It is not giving up. It is not losing faith. It is not even the fear you feel when the silence stretches longer than you know how to hold. The most dangerous thing is this: finally beginning to understand that the shift is real, that it is in motion, that it is working on your behalf, and then, in the relief of that understanding, immediately reaching for control again, immediately beginning to strategize how to help it along, immediately deciding that now that you know it is coming, you can manage how it arrives. This is the pattern. This is the specific pattern that interrupts more breakthrough seasons than almost anything else. Not a failure of faith, not an absence of worthiness, the inability to surrender the outcome even when the faith is real. And I want to be clear with you about something. This is not a character flaw. This is not a spiritual failure. This is what happens when someone has learned, through enough early experience, that the safest way to keep good things from disappearing is to hold them tightly. When the pattern of loss, of things being taken, of circumstances reversing at the last moment, has been repeated enough times that the nervous system has concluded, if I take my hands off it, it will be gone. That conclusion made sense once. It was an adaptive response to a real experience, and it served you, in its way, for a long time. But it has outlasted its usefulness. And it is the one thing standing between you and the full reception of what is already on its way to you. Because here is what control actually does in a season of divine orchestration. It narrows the pathway. The specific method you have decided the breakthrough must take becomes the only method you can recognize when it arrives. The specific timing you have calculated becomes the only timing you can receive. The specific form you have been managing toward becomes the only shape the answer can take. And the answer, which was always larger than your plan for it, which was always going to arrive in a form your current understanding could not have designed, has nowhere to land that you will recognize. You cannot receive what you are trying to manage. Think about Moses. Not Moses the leader. Moses in the middle. Moses at 40 years old, running from the life he thought he was building, arriving in Midian with nothing he had planned for, settling into 40 years of obscurity so complete that by the time the burning bush appeared, he had largely stopped expecting anything to appear at all. That was not defeat. That was the preparation. The specific person required for the specific assignment that was waiting could only have been formed by exactly that much letting go. The man who stood before Pharaoh and parted the sea was built in the silence of Midian, in the stillness, in the years of tending someone else's flock when he had once imagined he would be commanding armies. The bush did not appear while he was striving. It appeared while he was walking in his ordinary day, in the middle of a routine he had surrendered to, in a moment of attention that was only possible because he had finally stopped forcing. The striving can slow what was meant to arrive quickly. The forcing, the managing, the insisting on a specific method and timing, these are the very frictions that extend the very season you are trying to end. What would it feel like to let it go? Not the dream, not the calling, not the certainty that what was promised is real, just the grip, just the specific shape you have been insisting it must take, just the timeline you keep rewriting. What would it feel like to say, I know it is coming, I know it is real, and I release the need to be the one who makes it happen. I want to invite you to do something right now, not with your hands, not with a written list or a formal ceremony, but in the space between your next breath in and your next breath out. In that space, in the interior of this moment, I want you to picture the thing you have been holding most tightly, not abstractly, the specific hope, the specific outcome, the specific door you have been standing in front of and pushing against with everything you have. And in the space of one exhale, I want you to imagine releasing it, not releasing your belief that it is coming, only releasing the grip, opening the hand that has been holding it so tightly, trusting that what is truly yours cannot fall even when the hand is open. If you can feel that release, even a fraction of it, type the words I release in the comments right now. Because what you declare, even in a single moment of willingness, moves something. And now, I want to tell you who you are, not who you have been performing, not the version of you that is still trying to earn the right to receive what was always yours. The truth of who you are in this season, the identity that has been forming in the exact wilderness you have been walking through. The first thing I want to name about you is this: you are the carrier of stillness. You have been in a season that most people could not have survived with their faith intact, and you have not just survived it. You have been learning, slowly and sometimes against your will, how to be still inside it, how to hold the uncertainty without letting it become despair, how to sit in the silence without filling it with noise, just to feel like something is happening. That is not a small thing. That is the specific capacity that the next chapter of your life is going to require more than almost anything else, because what is coming for you will need to be held with steady hands, not clenched ones, steady ones. And the wilderness built them. You do not run from silence anymore. You have learned, even when it cost you, that the silence is where the most important things are said. The second thing I want to name is this: you are the one who trusts, not because trust is easy for you, not because you have never doubted, but because you have doubted and kept going anyway. You have questioned and kept showing up anyway. You have lost count of how many times the evidence pointed against what you were holding on to, and still, something in you held on. That is not naivety. That is not wishful thinking. That is a depth of trust that is informed by history, by the specific record of your own life, by every time something that seemed lost turned out to be repositioned. Every time something that seemed like the end was actually a door. You are not trusting blindly, you are trusting from evidence, and that is a different and stronger thing. The third truth about who you are is this: you are the vessel that does not leak. Everything that was poured into you in the hard season stayed. The character that was built there did not evaporate when the season was difficult. The wisdom that was formed in the questions you could not answer is still in you. The compassion that was developed in the pain you were not shielded from is still in you. The depth that came from the years of going beneath the surface, because the surface offered nothing, is still in you. You did not waste your wilderness, you absorbed it. And what you absorbed has become the specific substance that the next chapter of your life is built from. The fourth truth is this: you are the chosen one who knows how to wait. And I want to say that carefully, because I do not mean wait passively. I mean wait with intention. Wait as an act of faith rather than an absence of action. You have learned that waiting is not the same as giving up. That patience is not the same as not caring. That holding the space for what is coming is its own form of work, the hardest form, the invisible form. the one that no one sees and no one applauds, and you have done it. Day after day, in the quiet, in the unseen, you have held the space. That is not a small assignment, and it has not gone unnoticed. The fifth truth, and the one I want you to carry out of this space today more than any other, is this: you are the one who is already held. You have been waiting to feel it, waiting for the tangible evidence of it, waiting for the circumstances to change in a way that confirms what the Spirit has been saying. But the holding is not contingent on the circumstances catching up. The holding is already real, right now, in the silence, in the exhaustion, in the waiting. You are not outside of grace, looking in and hoping to be let in. You are inside it. You have always been inside it. And the shift that is coming, that is already in motion, that is being prepared with a precision that your current vantage point cannot fully take in, is not on the other side of some threshold you have not yet crossed. You have already crossed it. In the spirit, in the frequency of who you are and who you have become, in this season, it is already done. What you are waiting for now is simply for the visible world to catch up with what the invisible one has already settled. You went into this season exhausted from striving, and you are coming out restored to resting. You went in with clenched hands, and you are coming out with open ones. You went in carrying it alone, and you are coming out understanding that you were always being carried. You went in believing that your effort was the engine, and you are coming out knowing that you were never the architect. You went in pushing against the door, and you are coming out standing still while it opens. You do not apply for what was already written in your name. You receive it. And I want to say something before I close this, before I speak over you what I came here to speak. And I want to say it to every person here, because I want you to know that what you have been carrying is not a small thing, and you have not been carrying it in isolation. Right now, across the world, there are chosen ones in the exact same season, not metaphorically, actually. There are people lying awake in the early morning hours feeling the same unnameable heaviness. People sitting with the same questions that have not yet been answered. People in the same wilderness, longer than they expected, faithful in the unseen, waiting for the same kind of shift that you are waiting for. And every single one of them is in a season that looks like nothing from the outside, and is, from the inside, the most significant chapter of their entire story. You are not alone in this. You were never alone in this. And if you know someone who has gone unusually quiet lately, someone who used to show up in your life with energy and presence, and who has recently gone still, who seems to be in a season they cannot explain, share this with them. Not because they need to be fixed, because they need to know that the quiet is not abandonment, that the wilderness is not the end, that something is working, even now, even there. Type 1111 inches the comments if you have someone in mind, because the act of naming them, even here, even in this space, is the beginning of an activation for them. And now I want to close this, not with information, with something that I believe you came here to receive. We pause here. Before I say what I want to say, I want you to simply be where you are. Whatever position you are in right now, in your bed, in your car, at your desk, in the quiet of a room, that is exactly where this is meant to find you. You do not need to prepare. You do not need to perform a posture. The ceremony we are about to enter is not about your external conditions. It is about the interior space. And in that interior space, right now, there is more room than you have been giving yourself permission to access. I want to begin by saying thank you, not on my behalf, on behalf of something larger than this moment. Thank you for the days you showed up when you had nothing left to show up with. Thank you for the faithfulness in the small, invisible moments when the only witness was the one that matters most. Thank you for staying in the questions without forcing answers. Thank you for honoring the wilderness by not abandoning it prematurely. Thank you for carrying this with a dignity that no one else may have seen, but that has been seen completely in every detail by the source of what is being prepared for you. That faithfulness did not evaporate. It became the specific material your next chapter is built from. And I want to acknowledge now what has been carried, the weight of the unanswered prayers, the mornings you woke up and it was still there, the question, the uncertainty, the gap between what you were told and what you could see, the specific loneliness of being in a season that most people around you could not understand, of trying to explain something that defied explanation, of choosing, again and again, to hold on to something invisible, the small acts of faithfulness that no one applauded, the moments when you almost let go and chose not to, the tears in the middle of ordinary things, the dreams that stayed with you, the signs you noticed and held quietly. Every single one of them has been seen, not partially, completely, and not a moment of it has been wasted. And now I want to release something. I am going to name some things, and I want you, in the interior of your spirit, in the part of you that is listening beneath the listening, to let them go as I name them. Release the timeline, the specific calendar you have drawn and redrawn and revised, the age by which this was supposed to have happened, the year that has passed in which it did not. Release it. It was never your timeline to manage. Release the specific form, the precise shape you decided the answer had to take, the exact door through which the breakthrough was required to enter, the particular relationship, the particular opportunity, the particular method. Release the form. What is coming for you is larger than the container you built for it. Release the need for confirmation from people who cannot see what you can see, the validation from people still operating at the frequency you are leaving, the approval of those who do not understand the season you are in. Release it. Their inability to see it does not make it less real. Release the comparison, the careful accounting of how far ahead others seem, the measuring of your timeline against someone else's visible progress, the belief that because theirs is visible and yours is not, theirs is further along. Release it. You are not in the same story. You are not on the same page. You are not being evaluated by the same measure. Release the ceiling, the inherited belief about how high someone like you is permitted to go, the internalized limitation, the part of you that has been quietly insisting that the promises were real, but perhaps not for you at this scale, not at this level. Release the ceiling. It was never yours. Release the version of yourself that believed you had to earn this, the striving self, the one who kept pushing because resting felt like giving up, the one who made effort the currency of worthiness. Release that version of yourself with honor. It kept you alive in seasons that required it. But this season requires something different. Release the belief that silence means absence. Let it go completely. The silence was never absence. It was the specific condition in which the most important work was being done. And now I want to activate. I call forth the version of you that knows how to hold what is coming. The carrier of stillness, the one who does not need to force it, who does not need to manage it, who can receive it, because the hands are open and the frequency is clear. I call that version of you forward now, not as an aspiration, as a declaration. This is who you are. I activate the aligned connections, the people who have been prepared for this next chapter of your life and who are being moved right now through their own unseen orchestration toward the place where your paths will cross. I activate those connections. I call them forward. I activate the open doors. The ones that closed before were not your doors. The one that is being positioned now is. I call it open, not in striving, in receiving. I call forward the provision, the resources that have been in motion on your behalf longer than you have known to ask for them. I call them to complete their movement, to arrive in the exact form and at the exact time that the one who orchestrated them designed. And I cover you. I cover what is rising in you from the weight of premature exposure. The breakthrough that is being built does not need to be announced before it arrives. It does not need to be explained to people who cannot yet see it. It does not need defending or justifying. I cover it. I guard the growing thing. I protect the space where it is being completed. And now, from the deepest place of what this message has been moving toward, I want to speak this over you. You are the one who rests in certainty. Not certainty that you can see, but certainty that lives below sight, in the part of you that has always known, even when the mind has argued against it. You are certain, right now, in the stillness, in the waiting, in the season that looks like nothing from the outside. You are certain. You are the vessel that is already filled, not waiting to be filled, already. The wilderness poured into you what the comfortable season could not have, and it stayed. Every bit of it stayed. You are the chosen one whose shift is already complete in the unseen, and I hear it being said over you now, from a place that does not require my words to carry it, only my willingness to speak what I hear. I never needed your effort, I needed your trust, and you gave it. In the hardest season, in the longest silence, in the moment when trust cost you the most, you gave it, and it is done. What was promised is not coming, it is already done. What you are waiting for in the visible world is the completion of something that is already finished in the one that governs it. It is done, it is sealed, it is yours. Do not say it yet, do not close this yet. I want you to sit in that for a moment, not a long moment, just a breath. Let the weight of what was just spoken settle into the place inside you that has been holding space for it, the part that has been waiting for someone to say it and mean it. Let it settle there. It is done, and so it is. For those of you who sense that there is a longer journey here, that the chapter you have just entered is the beginning of something whose full dimensions you have not yet been given, there is more. There is a path beyond this threshold that I have only been given permission to name, not yet to describe. Those who walk further along this road begin to encounter something. It has been called, by those who have found their way there, destiny's embrace. When you are ready for that chapter, you will know. For now, go and rest. Chosen one. Not as a spiritual discipline you have to maintain, as an act of trust that is already changing everything. The shift is in motion. The infrastructure is built. The people are being prepared. The doors are being positioned. You do not have to do anything else today. If what was spoken over you just now landed, if even a fraction of it settled into a place that needed to hear it, type the words, "It is done," in the comments. Not as a wish, as a declaration over your own life. And if this message reached you at the right moment, if it gave you something you needed in this season, let that be known in this space as your own declaration. Not for metrics, as an act of agreement with what was spoken here. Stay close to this community. There are others here, chosen ones in the same season, walking the same path. And there is something that happens when people who are in the wilderness together know they are not alone in it. For those of you who felt something shift when we talked about the Genius song, when the science of rest connected to the season you are in, the link is in the description and in the pinned comment below. Everything you need is there. Take what belongs to you. And for everyone, go and rest. What is yours is already moving toward you.